Chapter 7, Science Part 1, Chapter 7, Lenses. Now, first diagram, it shows the spherical mirror. Now, you might be thinking why I'm showing this spherical mirror, right? Actually, what is the use of spherical mirror? The given part of this spherical glass can be converted into concave mirror by polishing its inner side. Right? You have to polish the inner side to make it reflecting. Okay, and there's coating in its outer side with a thin layer of silver and painting it with red color to protect the silver coating. So what this actually this spherical glass, okay, given part of the spherical hollow spherical glass, we can convert it into convex lens by polishing silver color in its outer side, okay, to make it more reflecting, and coating its inner surface again by silver color and painting it with red color to protect the silver coating. So in this way, you can convert the, you can make the convex and concave mirrors using this spherical mirror. Now, this spherical mirror has center of curvature. Okay, center of curvature. What all things are there? The center of curvature is there. Principal focus is there. Radius of curvature is there. Principal axis and pole of the mirror. So these are some of the parts of the spherical mirror. Now let us move to the lens. Now here I am showing you a lens. Okay, there are many diagrams given in page number 80 of your textbooks of lens, types of lenses. I request you all the students to just focus on the diagrams when I'm explaining. So first let us define what is a lens. A lens is a transparent material bound by two surfaces, out of which at least one surface is spherical. Okay, so that means what? A lens is having it is made up of what? Transparent material. Okay, transparent material. Can you tell me what is the meaning? What is mean by transparent material? Okay, who knows what is a transparent material? Give the answers in the public chat, students. Okay, we can see through it. Very good, Hiral. That means what? Light can enter through it, right? So that is a transparent material. Very good, Shruti Agaj. So light can pass through such a material. So lens is made up of actually what? A transparent material. Okay, and this transparent material is bound by two surfaces. How many surfaces it is having? Two surfaces, right? Okay, Kushi, my voice is breaking. Are you sure, all of you? It's clear. Okay, Kushi. Only for you, it is slightly breaking, I feel. Okay, see to it that you change your position, change your place from there and sit somewhere near the network area. Okay, so a lens is a transparent material bound by two surfaces. Okay, out of which at least one surface is spherical. That means one surface should be spherical in a lens, and the material should be transparent so that light can easily pass through. Okay, so now I told you there are two types of lens: convex lens and concave lens. Right? So convex lens, what it does, how it is made a lens, if both the spherical surfaces are puffed downwards, then what we call it as a convex lens or a double convex lens, or you can say it is biconvex lens. Now look at the diagram which is shown in page number. Okay, fine. 1 second, students. Voice is not coming. 1 second. I'll change my place also. Lens. Okay. Now, convex lens is having both the spherical surfaces puffed outwards. Okay, that's why it's called as a what? Convex lens, or what you can say, double convex lens or biconvex. You can look at the diagram which is shown in types of the lenses in your textbook, page number 80. First diagram, biconvex. Yes. So how the diagram is, both the sides are puffed outside, right? So that type of lens is called biconvex lens, right? Question can come, draw different types of lenses. Okay, so all this diagram you have to draw it, types of lenses, right? So that is a biconvex lens. If lens having, suppose one surface plane and the other surface is bulging out, then what we call it? Anybody knows? one surface is bulging out, other surface is not bulging out, as shown in the, no, it is not convex, Sanskruti. What you can say, you can give the name it as, plano, one second, still students are entering, plano-convex lens. Okay, a lens having one surface plane and the other surface bulging out. What you will call it as plano-convex, which is shown in the second diagram, right? You can look at the diagram also. So a convex lens is thicker in the middle than at the edge. If you clearly look at the diagram, what you can say, it is thicker at the middle. Convex lenses are thicker at the middle and it is thinner towards the edge, okay, towards both the corners. So this is how it looks like. And it is a converging lens. Converging means what? Who will say what is the meaning of converging? You have studied diverging and converging concept, right? What is converging, students? Converging means what? Anybody put the answer in the chat box? Yes, to reflect at one point. That means what? All the light will pass through a particular point. The light will converge, right? So that is called converging. Diverging means what? The light will spread in different direction. Okay? The lens which helps to diverge the light, that is diverging lens. Converging lens means what? The lens is allowing all the light to pass through a particular point. Okay, then we will say it as a converging lens. So I hope you all understood what is the difference between converging and diverging. Now this convex lens is what? It is a type of converging lens. Okay. So there is also concave convex lens. Okay. So concave convex lens has one spherical surface concave and the other surface is what? Convex. But it actually is like a convex lens. Okay. So in this way, okay, so in this way the convex lens behaves. Now let us talk about concave lens. What is the difference between concave and convex? Now concave lens is having both the spherical surface curved inwards. Okay, if you look at the concave lens, what you will find, both the surfaces are curved inwards, right? Or you can call it as double concave lens or biconcave lens, right? So a lens having one surface plane and other surface spherical curved inwards is a plano-concave lens. Concave lens is thicker, right? Now I'll show you one diagram in my PPT, students. So it will be much more clear how how it looks like exactly, the concave and convex lens. And what it shows a ray of light passing through a lens, right? So this lens, okay, this is the lens which is having center of curvature C, okay. That center of curvature is what? The center of the sphere whose parts form a surface of the lens, right? So here you are having convex lens. Okay? So here what you can say, the center of curvature is present, lens with both surfaces are spherical, okay. And two centers of curvature is there, C1 and C2. Or you can label it as C1 and C2. Then you can also see radius of curvature here. So two radii R1 and R2 is present inside the sphere, okay, whose parts form surface of the lens. So that is called radii of the curvature. Okay. So principal axis, you can see an imaginary dotted line over there in the diagram passing through both center of curvature, right? So that is called as principal axis of the lens. Okay. So this is one lens, this is a second lens, right? So concave and convex lens. So optical center, you can see even the optical center, it is a point inside a lens on the principal axis through which light rays pass without changing their path. So here the light rays are passing through that optical center. Okay. So if you look at the textual diagram, you can say rays P1, Q1 and P2, Q2 are passing through the point O, are going along a straight line. Thus O is the optical center of the lens. So what you can say, O, the point O is called as the optical center of the lens, right? And next is principal focus F. Now, what is principal focus F? When light rays parallel to the principal axis are incident on a convex lens, they converge to a point on the principal axis. So this point, what we say, it is the principal focus of the lens, right? So you can say it is, you can label it as F1 and F2, principal foci of the convex lens. So light rays parallel to the principal axis falling on a convex lens comes together, okay, and they get focused at a point on the principal axis. That's why what we call this type of lens, a converging lens. Okay, that is a converging lens, right? So in this way, we gone through the different types of lenses, right? Now next, let us see what are the rules for obtaining an image formed on a convex lens. Okay, before that there is a small activity given. Okay, actually this activity is not necessary for this for this 25% reduction of the syllabus. For that this activity is not needed. Okay, so let us move to this topic, next one, that is how we can, what are the rules for obtaining an image formed by a convex lens, right? Okay, now here we have used a convex lens. What you can say that it is a real image is formed by a convex lens. So certain rules has to be followed here, right? First of all, when the incident ray is parallel to the principal axis, okay, when the incident ray is parallel to the principal axis, the refracted ray passes through the principal focus. Okay, so that means what? Whenever incident ray, that the ray which is incident on the lens, okay, so that should be parallel. You can see in the diagram how it is parallel, and it, after refraction, it should pass through the focus, principal focus. Just now I told you what is principal focus. Okay, next is what? Next condition is what? When the incident ray is passing through the principal focus, the refracted ray is parallel to the principal axis. The refracted ray should be parallel to the principal axis. And the third condition is that when the incident ray passes through the optical center of the lens, it passes without changing its direction. Okay, so the ray should pass without changing its direction. Ray of light. Okay, so ray of light. Again, I'll repeat 3 rules for obtaining an image formed by convex lens. Now, in the diagram, you can see a convex lens. Okay, so what are the 3 rules for obtaining an image? What first rule is that the incident ray should be parallel to the principal axis. Okay, and the refracted ray, how it should be? It should pass through the principal focus. Okay, the second rule is that when the incident ray passes through the principal focus, the refracted ray is parallel to the principal axis. Okay, and the third rule is that when the incident ray passes through the optical center of the lens, it passes without changing its direction. So in this way, 3 conditions are there, okay, through which the ray should pass. This is for what? Convex lens. Now let us see about the concave lens. Now if I'll take a concave lens, the rules are different here. Okay. Now what are the rules for obtaining an image formed by concave lens? Now you can see the concave lens in the diagram. So here what is the first rule? When the incident ray is parallel to the principal axis, the refracted ray when extended backwards passes through the principal focus. So if you extend this ray backwards, it will pass through what? Principal focus. Okay. Second rule is that when the incident ray is directed towards the principal focus F2, okay, refracted ray is parallel to the principal axis. Okay, so that is the second rule. And the third one is what? When incident ray passes through the optical center of the lens, it passes without changing its direction. So this rule is same in both convex and concave. That means what? Whenever any ray of light is passing through the center of the lens, how it will pass? Without changing any direction. Okay, you can see in the diagram how the ray is passing without changing the direction. Okay, so again, first rule, what it should be? The incident ray should be parallel. Parallel to what, students? Principal axis. Okay, parallel to the principal axis. Then what is the condition? If it is parallel, the refracted ray, if it is extended backwards, how it should pass? It should pass through the principal focus. Okay. Second rule is that when the incident ray is directed towards the focus, towards the principal focus, the refracted ray is parallel to the principal axis. Okay, so this way we had to learn the three rules for obtaining image formed by convex lens and concave lens. I hope whatever I explained you, the rules for obtaining image using concave and convex lens is clear to you, students. Okay. Can you tell me what is the first rule? What I explained just now. What is the first rule for getting a proper image? Okay, using the convex lens. Okay, how the ray should be, incident ray should be. Yes, who will answer me in the public chat? What is the first rule? Should be parallel. Very good, Sanskriti. Parallel to what? Okay. Good, Arya Pallav. Okay, it should be parallel to the principal axis. Okay. The first rule is that the ray, incident ray should be parallel to the principal axis. Very good. And then the refracted ray should pass through what? It should pass through the principal. Yes, focus. Very good, Sanskriti. It should pass through the principal focus. Correct. Okay. Next, second rule. What is the second rule? Come on. Second rule, what I said. Okay, incident ray should pass through the principal focus, and what will happen? The refracted ray will be parallel to what? Parallel to the principal axis. Okay, that is the second rule. Okay, now what is the third rule? Third rule is common, I said, for both convex and concave lens. What is the third rule? Where the incident ray should, how it should be? Optical center of the lens. Very good, Neeraj. If the ray is passing through the optical center of the lens, how the ray will be passing? Yes, Riya Tiwari, correct. Okay, how the ray will be passing, students? It will pass without changing direction. Very good, Neha. Very good, Riya. So without changing the direction, the ray is passing. So these three rules should be clear to you. Okay, fine. I hope everyone understood because maximum students have answered me well. Okay, good, Ipshita. Good, Drishti. Neeraj, correct? So the lesson, this lesson is lengthy also and a little bit what you can say complicated. You should compare both the lens, concave and convex lens, and learn it, right? So while learning, do that way, correct? So I hope this much. What is a lens? What are the types of lens? What are the parts of the lenses? Okay, and how? What are the rules for getting the image of the lens? Through the concave and convex lens. I hope this much is clear to you. Okay, so this was the first part of the chapter. Now we are moving to the second part where I'll be explaining you. So that I will share my screen with you, students. 1 second. Okay, now next part is, now you have to learn the sign convention for a lens. Okay, what is meant by sign convention? Now in this, first of all, you should see that the optical center of the lens is taken as the origin, O. So you can write there O. O is what? Optical center of the lens. That is the origin. And the principal axis of the lens is taken as x-axis of the coordinate system. Okay, like principal axis is taken as x-axis. Like when you're drawing graph and all, you're using the horizontal line as x-axis. Okay, so sign convention regarding the measurement of distances parallel to the principal axis. Okay, and those perpendicular to the principal axis are the same as for a spherical mirror. So hence the focal length of the convex lens is positive and that of a concave lens is negative. So how the focal length is? It is positive for the convex lens, and focal length is negative for the concave lens. Okay, so you can look at that Cartesian sign convention given in page number 84. Okay, where you can see how the sign conventions are. Direction of incident ray is shown, height above positive and height below is negative. Okay. So how you can, if you read the diagram, you will understand what all things we can say. The distance on the left of the origin is taken as negative. Distance on the right side of the origin, that should be taken as positive. Okay. So direction of incident ray is also shown over there. Height above means what? It should be positive. Height below, negative. Okay. And the principal axis is shown in the diagram. Distance on the left side, negative. Distance on the right side, positive. So this diagram, what it gives us what? The sign convention, Cartesian sign convention, which has to be used when using this concave lens and convex lens, right? So next is about lens formula. What is this lens formula? So the formula showing this relationship between distance of the object, okay, that is object distance is taken as u, small letter u. The distance of the image, that is what? Small letter v. Okay. So the relationship between object distance and image distance. Okay. That relationship and the focal length. Focal length is taken as f. So that is called as a lens formula. Right. So how you can write the lens formula? 1 upon u, 1 upon v minus 1 upon u equal to 1 upon f. Okay. So this formula you should remember, 1 upon v minus 1 upon u equal to 1 upon f. Okay. So that is the formula used for finding the image distance or object distance or the focal length of the lens. So I hope this understood. Everyone understood this. Next is magnification. What is magnification? Okay, v and u. Okay, Neeraj is asking to repeat v, u and f. V is what? Image distance. U is object distance. So distance of the object, okay, that is taken as u, small letter u. Distance of the image from the lens is taken as v. Okay, I hope Neeraj understood this. And f, small letter f is standing for what? Focal length. That's why the formula is 1 upon v minus 1 upon u equal to 1 upon f. Okay, so that is the lens formula. Next is magnification. What is meant by magnification? So magnification due to a lens is nothing but the ratio of the height of the image. Okay, height of the image we should write as h2. Okay, to the height of the object. Height of the object is taken as h1. So if you will divide h2 upon h1, if you will take the ratio of h2 to h1, that is height of the image divided by height of the object, what you are getting? Magnification. So that is called as magnification. Good. So remember this formula, and magnification is denoted by capital letter M. Okay, fine. Magnification due to a lens is related to the distance of the object and that to the image. Okay, so magnification is distance of the image divided by distance of the object. So you can also write as V upon U. Yes. So write, Neeraj, what you have to write? M equal to V upon U. So two formulas we are learning here. If suppose in the question they are given distance of the image and distance of the object and find magnification, you have to use the second formula. If suppose height they are giving, height of the image and height of the object, then you can use the first formula. So both the formulas you should remember. Okay, fine. Next is power of a lens. What is meant by power of a lens? The capacity of a lens to converge or diverge incident rays, okay, is called as the power of a lens. Okay. So the power of a lens depends on what? Depends on its focal length, right? So how much the focal length is, that much will be the power of the lens. So power is inverse of its focal length, f. Okay, and f is expressed in what? Meters, right? So f is always expressed in meters, right? Any doubt here, students? Understood what is meant by power of the lens? So formula will be like this way: P equal to 1 upon f, right? P equal to 1 upon f. F should be written in meters, right? So 1 diopter. What is the unit of the power of lens? It is diopter. D-I-O-P-T-R-E. So you can even write it as capital letter D, right? That is diopter. Now combination of lenses. Combination of lenses means what? If you are taking two lenses with two different focal lengths, suppose f1 and f2, and they are kept in contact with each other. Two lenses are kept in contact with each other. The combination has an effective focal length. So you are getting an effective focal length over there. And how you can write the formula now? 1 upon f equal to 1 upon f1 plus 1 upon f2. Okay. So this is how the formula goes, right? So all the three formulas, that is of magnification, right? Power of the lens, magnification, two formulas are there. First one is m equal to h1, h2 divided by h1. And the second is what? M equal to V upon U. Okay. And the third formula is what? Lens formula. Yes. Power of the lens you can find out by P equal to 1 upon F. Then lens formula is there. Okay. That I already explained. 1 upon V minus 1 upon U equal to 1 upon F. And then combination, if you're taking two lenses in contact with each other, combining two lenses. Okay. The formula goes in how? 1 upon F equal to 1 upon F1 plus 1 upon F. So these all formulas are necessary for solving certain numerical sums. So I want you all to write down all the formulas in one particular page so that it will be easy to refer. Okay, fine. So I hope everything is clear to you till now. No problem. No doubts. Sure. Okay, fine. So now let us move to the next topic. Okay, thank you, Neha, Bhumi, Drishti. Okay. Next, we are going to learn about human eyes. Okay. For that, I will share my PPTs to you, students. Right. So there is a very thin, transparent cover. Okay. Human eyes is made up of thin, transparent cover or membrane. Okay. So this is called as what? Cornea. What do you call it as? Cornea. Look at the diagram in your textbook. Label diagram is also given. Okay, page number 87. Look at the cornea there. Okay, so how the cornea is? It is very thin membrane cover. Transparent cover is there, right? So that thin transparent cover is called as cornea. Light enters the eyes through it, right? Whatever light is coming, that will enter through the cornea, right? Then maximum amount of incident light is refracted inside the eyes at the outer surface of the cornea. Okay, so we can say maximum light will be refracted outside, right? There is a dark fleshy screen behind the cornea. This is called as the iris. Can you see in the diagram the iris, students? So how it is? Dark fleshy skin. Okay, that is called as iris. Understood? So iris is also present. Then the color of the iris is different for different people. Okay? You can see the color changes from person to person. Sometimes blue, sometimes green, sometimes black, sometimes brown. Okay, so there is a small hole of changing diameter at the center of the iris, which is called as pupil. Look at the pupil in the diagram, students, how it is. The pupil is a small hole. Okay, what you can say, if the it is a small hole which keeps on changing the diameter every now and then, right? What is the main function of pupil? It will control the amount of light entering the eyes. Okay, if the light falling on the eyes is too bright, pupil will contract, while if the light is dim, it will widen. Okay, on the surface of the iris, there is bulge of transparent layers. So you can see many layers are there. There is a double convex transparent crystalline lens, right, just behind the pupil. The lens provides what? Small adjustments of the focal length to focus the image. This lens creates real and inverted image of an object on the screen inside the eyes. Now this screen is made up of what? Light sensitive cells. And what is the name of that cell? It is called as retina. Understood? So these cells, what it does, it gets excited when light falls on them and generates some electric signals. So these signals are conveyed to the brain through optic nerve. Later what the brain does, brain will analyze these signals and convert them in such a way that we can perceive the objects as they actually are. Okay, so While seeing objects at large, infinite distances, the lens of the eyes will become flat and its focal length is also increasing. Whereas if you are seeing nearby object, what will happen to the lens? The lens will become round, okay, and its focal length will decrease. So this way we can see objects clearly irrespective of the distance, okay. So the capacity of a lens to change its focal length as per the need, okay, that is called as power of accommodation. Underline this word, power of accommodation, students. What is meant by power of accommodation? The capacity of the lens, okay, to change the focal length as per the need, okay. So that is called as power of accommodation. Although the elastic lens can change its focal length to increase or decrease it, it cannot do so beyond a limit, okay. There's a particular limit, up to that only it can change its focal length, okay. After that it cannot do. So the change in the shape of the lens while seeing distant and nearby object, you can see in the diagram, page number 87, 7.12. Okay, in that you can see how the lens becomes flat and how the lens became rounded. Okay, when light is coming from the nearby object, how the lens is becoming? It becomes rounded. Whereas if the light is coming from a faraway object, distant object, the lens will become flat. Okay, so both the diagrams are shown there in your textbook. You can go through it. Okay, and again, parts of the eyes, once again I'll explain construction in that diagram. All the parts are given. Ciliary muscles are there, iris is there, pupil, okay, crystalline lens, cornea, sclerotic coat, okay, all these are the parts of the eyes. Choroid, okay, the retina, optic disc, optic nerve, and muscles. So you should know the function of iris and pupil and cornea, right? Ciliary muscles are also there. So all these together forms our eyes. External features, what all things you can see externally? You can see the eyelids, pupil, corners, iris, and sclera. Okay, so that white portion of our eyes is nothing but sclera. Inside that you can see bluish colored layer, that is iris, and the central part, that is black color, that is pupil, and eyelids and corners are there. So these are forming the parts of human eyes. So I hope everyone understood what are the different parts of human eye, what are the functions, okay, whatever just now I explained you, right? Now let us move to the defects of vision, right? What are the various defects of vision? Okay, students. So, okay, now just now I explained about eyes, correct? Now, there are certain defects of the eyes that we are going to learn the next part of our chapter, that is defects of human eyes, right? Nearsightedness. The first one is nearsightedness or myopia, right? Yes, Neeraj is asking some doubt. Wait, Neeraj, let me finish it. Then I will go come to your point. Okay, fine. Okay, let us continue now. Okay, what is what are the defects of eyes? Okay, nearsightedness or myopia, farsightedness, or you can call it as hypermetropia. Okay, now in nearsightedness, these two are the defects of the vision, and the third one is presbyopia, right? Presbyopia. And what you can say about the defects of vision is that first, nearsightedness means what? Here what happens, the eyes can see the nearby objects, right? Clearly you can see the nearby object, but the distant objects, how it will be appearing? It will be appearing indistinct, okay? Unable to see the faraway objects. So this means what? Far point of the eyes is not at infinity, but shifts closer to the eyes, right? So in nearsightedness, the image of a distant object forms in front of the retina. right? So there are two reasons for this defect. First reason is that the curvature of the cornea and the eye's lens increases. Okay, that and the muscle near the lens, it cannot relax, so that the converging power of the lens remains large. Okay? That is the first reason for this. And the second reason is that the eyeball will elongate, so that the distance between the lens and the retina will increase. So this defect, how to correct this defect? So you have to use the spectacles. Now spectacles should be made up of concave lens, right? Concave lens, and how it should have a proper focal length. Okay, so that the lens will diverge the incident rays, and then diverged rays can be converged by the lens, okay, in the eyes, and so that the proper image is formed on the retina. So the focal length of concave lens is negative. So as the lens with negative power is required for correcting nearsightedness, right? So here the power of the lens will be different for different eyes depending on the magnitude of the nearsightedness. So once you will visit this eye specialist, so he will suggest which lens you should use. Okay, you cannot use any lens from the market. You cannot purchase like that. You have to check the eyes, see the power of the lens suitable for your eyes. Okay, Bhumi, what happened? My voice is breaking. Others, is it clear, students? Sometimes it is breaking, Bhumi is saying. For others it is clear. Okay, fine. Only Bhumi, just rejoin Bhumi if you feel that my voice is breaking. Okay. Okay. So in this way, that is about the nearsightedness or myopia, right? Now next is about farsightedness or hypermetropia. Now in this defect, what happens? The human eyes can see distant object, right? But cannot see the nearby object. Very good, Riya Tiwari. You are answering before my explanation. Good. Some of the students are answering me in the public chat. So now, first you listen, then when I will ask you some question, then you reply. Fine. So in this defect, what happens in farsightedness? This is a defect where human eye can see distant objects clearly, but cannot see the nearby object. Okay. So this means that what near point of the eyes is no longer at 25 centimeter. Should be minimum distance should be 25 centimeter. Okay. So but shifts farther away, right? So in the diagram 7.14, there is a diagram for page number 88. Both the diagrams are given for nearsightedness and farsightedness. Okay. So you can look over there. Now, what are the two reasons for it? The two reasons for this is that, first of all, the curvature of the cornea and the eye's lens decreases, so that the converging power of the lens becomes less, right? So the converging power will become less here. Why? Because the curvature of cornea is decreasing in this case, right? And the eye lens is also, the curvature of eye lens is also decreased. So due to the flattening of the eyeball, that's why what will happen to the eyeball? It will what you can say, flatten. Okay, it will become bigger and bigger, and the distance between the lens and the retina will decrease. That's why the distance between lens and retina will decrease. And this defect, how you can correct this defect? This defect can be corrected by using convex lens. Which lens you have to use here? Convex lens. And how the focal length should be proper. Okay, so this lens, actually, what is the work of convex lens? It will converge the rays before it reaches the lens. So the lens that converges them to form the image on the retina. Okay, so the focal length of convex lens is positive. Thus the spectacles used to correct this farsightedness has positive power. Right? So the power of these lenses is different depending on the extent of farsightedness. How much our that means what? How much the farsighted, how much you are not able to see, that depends on that power. Okay? The length of the power will depend on your defect, right? So that again we have to test our eyes for that before using the lens, so that the proper lens can be used to clear the defect. Otherwise, what will happen? Your eyes will become more and more defective. If you are not using the, without testing the eyes, if you are using the lens, without knowledge, then what will happen? Your disease will not reduce, it will increase. So instead of far-sightedness, if you're using the lens for short-sightedness, it is wrong, correct? So I hope you understood what is the difference between far-sightedness and near-sightedness. Now the third defect is what? Presbyopia. Now here generally what happens, the focusing power of the eye lens decreases with age. As you grow at particular age, what will happen? The focusing power of the lens will decrease. Okay. And the muscles near the lens will lose the ability to change the focal length of the lens. Okay. The muscles will lose the ability to change the focal length. So without changing the focal length, you cannot see the clear image, right? So the near point of the lens will shift farther from the eyes. Okay. And because of this, what will happen? The old people, they cannot see nearby objects clearly. Sometimes people even suffers from nearsightedness as well as farsightedness. Both will be there. They cannot see nearby objects also clearly. They cannot see the faraway objects clearly. So in such case, what we have to use? Bifocal lens. So that is used to correct the defect. So in such lenses, the upper part is concave lens and it will correct the it will correct the nearsightedness, while the lower part is convex lens which corrects the farsightedness. Okay. So I hope you understood whatever I explained to you, students. Sure. Okay. Defects of human eyes. Okay. So and how which lens we should use for the particular defect, right? Now next topic is about the persistence of vision. What is meant by persistence of vision, right? Okay. Now there is a topic called telescope in your textbook. Just cross it. That is not there for your syllabus, students. 25% reduced. Page number 90. Refracting telescope and reflecting telescope. Note it down. Okay. So that is not needed. Okay. So that I'm not going to explain you directly the persistence of vision. What is persistence of vision? Now here, the image of the object. Okay. Image of the object remain imprinted on the retina for 1/16th of the second. Okay, that after the object is removed from the sight, the sensation on the retina persists for a while. That is called as persistence of vision, right? So that's why the what you can say here. Suppose, okay, students. So in the retina of our eyes is, it is made up of many cells, right? The cells are very sensitive, right? So these cells are how they look like. They are rod-shaped cells and like a cone-shaped cells are present. Now these cells will respond to the intensity of the light. Whatever light falls on it, it will become active and gives information to you about the brightness or dimness of the object. How much bright the object is, how much dim the object is, right? So the conical cells will respond to the color and give information about the color of the object. If you're looking at a blue colored object, immediately your eyes will give the what you can say message to the brain, and you will identify the color as blue color or green color or red color or white color. Okay, in this way. Now this conical cell will respond to the color and gives us information about the color. Okay, and how the brain, what it will do, it will process all the information, right? Whatever information is received, it will get processed and we can see the actual image of the object in front of us. So brain processes this information, and there are certain rod-shaped cells which will respond to faint light also. Okay, but conical cells will not respond to faint light. Okay, dim light. Okay, only the which cells are responding there? Rod-shaped cells, right? So thus we perceive colors only in bright light. Okay. So the conical cells can respond differently to red, green, and blue colors. So when red color falls on the eyes, what will happen? The cell will respond to red color, get excited more than, okay, more than those responding to other colors. And we get the sensation of red color. Okay. Some people lack, okay, some people do not have this conical cells, right, in their eyes. So some people will lack conical cells. Conical cells will be there, but the cells will not respond to certain colors. Okay? So these persons cannot recognize these colors. They cannot distinguish between different colors. They cannot distinguish between certain colors. Okay? So these persons, what we can say, they are color blind people. Okay? So they cannot identify the color. If you'll say it is blue color, they will say it is no, it is not blue, it is green color. Okay? So apart from not being able to distinguish, they cannot distinguish between certain colors. So that's why we call them as color blind people. Okay? So they cannot distinguish and their eyesight is normal. But eyesight will be normal. They can see everything. They can understand everything. But only thing, they cannot distinguish the color. So that is how. So that is about the persistence of vision. That means what? If we see the object in front of us, the eye lens creates its image on the retina, and the image on the retina will remain as long as the object is in front of us. Okay, this image will disappear as soon as the object is taken away, right? So, however, this is not instantaneous. You will feel that it is still there in front of you. Okay, like if you move the incense stick round and round, okay, what will happen? The smoke will be, you will feel that a circle is formed in front of you. Right? Image remains imprinted on our retina for how much seconds? It is 1/16th second. Note it down. For how many seconds the image will be remaining in your in front of you? 1/16th second. Okay. So after the object, even the object is not there in front of you, you will feel that the object is still in front of you. Okay. That is called persistence of vision. And the sensation on retina will persist for a while. Okay, so this is called as persistence of vision. I hope you understood what is meant by persistence of vision. There are many examples in our day-to-day life, like in circular motion of incense stick. Okay, that also leaves a persistence of vision. Okay, so that was the last topic which we covered today. And some of the students are asking some of the doubt, students. So I will be clearing that also. First, let us go through the chapter what we did today. We started with spherical mirror. Then I explained you what is lens, how the spherical mirror is used to make convex lens and concave lens. Then we studied how the image, what are the rules for getting proper image using the convex mirror and convex lens and concave lens. Right? Then we went to the parts of the mirror. Yes, and then different parts of the mirrors. Okay, then we studied about principal focus, principal axis, what is optical center of the lens. Okay, so how the ray diagram exactly looks like, and what is sign convention, Cartesian sign convention. Then we went with lens formula, different formula, what is magnification, what is the power of a lens. Okay, what is the unit of power of lens, combination of lenses. Okay, then we went with human eye and working of its parts. What are the three defects? Farsightedness, nearsightedness, and presbyopia. And finally, we completed the persistence of vision. Right? Yes. Yes. So now let me go through the evaluation. Through that, I will be clearing your doubts. Like Neeraj was asking some doubt, Kushi was asking some doubt. So these doubts will be cleared soon, students.